Hey, y'all, and welcome back to another segment here on GEMS Podcast. With me today is Kyle Langan, and you already know me. It's your girl, Miss Genesis Amaris Kemp. But let me tell you about my guest who is in the hot seat today with a fiery topic. So, he is an award winning blogger, author, and founder of the media company KJL Media. In 2011, he created a successful blog called From the Hamptons to Hollywood, a lifestyle site that gave recommendations on travel, fashion, food, and events. All the things I love. Hamptons to Hollywood expanded into a podcast, a product line, a documentary, and an online store that curated products from local Hamptons and Hollywood artisans. He partnered with brands like BMW, the E Network, the Surf Lodge, the Screen Actors Guild, and more. In March of 2021, after regaining the rights to his first book deal, Kyle published his debut novel, Uncharted Waters, which is the first in the series of coming of age books set in the Hamptons in the vein of Gossip Girl and The Breakfast Club. The book was met with positive praise. In August of 2021, the sequel, Uncharted Horizons, was released. The third book, in the Uncharted Waters Trilogy, is planned for a 2023 release. Writing is Cal's passion, and he is thrilled to be embarking on his next chapter as an author to entertain, inspire, and tell stories that blend humor with poignant social relevance. And he has another secret that is about to be revealed soon. So, without further ado, let's welcome the man behind it all, Kyle Langan.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
My pleasure. I was like, woo, reading your bio, I was like, oh, hot stuff. So, Kyle, today we're going to spend some time talking about your new project that is about to drop tomorrow, but then also social media influencing and marketing. But before we dive in, I definitely want to give the audience a chance to connect with you in a fun and personal manner. So, are you ready for what's next?
Yes.
Okay. There's two options. We could do an icebreaker or a rapid fire 10 question game. What are you in the mood for?
I think let's do the rapid fire.
Ooh, okay. We're playing rapid fire with Kyle and Genesis. Do 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 do. Question number one. So tell me why you picked From the Hamptons to Hollywood.
So I was working in the Hamptons as a server when I had graduated college, and I was like, it was like a summer job, and I couldn't really, stay there all year round. So I decided to pick up and move to LA. So I literally went from the Hamptons to Hollywood.
Amazing. Question two. If you could have any superpower, what would it be and why?
Ooh, I spend so much time thinking about this. I think I would want to read minds.
Question three. Dream car, dream home, or both?
If I had to pick between, both. I would want both for
Woo!
sure.
Yes, me too. I'm a little greedy, y'all. Question four. What is your favorite food?
Um, I love food in general, but I think that if I could have one thing for the rest of my life, I would want to have like chicken soup. I could eat it every day, like chicken noodle soup.
Question five. Favorite color?
Blue.
Oh, yes. Okay, we agree. Question six. If you could be a fly on the wall, Kyle, and listen in to any conversation, past or present, what conversation are you listening into?
Oh, that's a good question. I think maybe something like I'm not like a political person. I shouldn't say I'm not a political person, but I would love to hear kind of like be able to fly on the wall in like the Oval Office, maybe with like I don't know, like the Frost Nixon administration or something like that, like something from back in the day.
Amazing. I don't know why, when you just said that, it made me think about the TV show Scandal for some odd reason.
Yeah.
Question 7. Coffee, tea, or neither?
I am having a cup of coffee right now, but I usually have coffee in the morning and tea at night. But if I had to pick one, I'd say coffee.
Question 8. Since you are a podcaster yourself, who's a celebrity that you would love to sit down and interview?
My favorite celebrity of all time is Gwyneth Paltrow. So she's like my that's who I would like when I'd love to have a conversation with her.
Have you pitched her yet?
Not yet. I'm trying to not yet, but hopefully soon.
So, if you've listened to the show, you know I like to challenge my guests, right?
Yes.
So I challenge you by the end of next week to find out who her PR team is and pitch her to come on your podcast.
Ooh, that's a good one. I'm so scared, but like so excited too. So, all right, I accept the challenge.
Yeah, because the challenge, it's going to be the shoot your shot challenge. Because if you don't, you're not gaining anything. But if you do, and she's like, oh, I like this Kyle guy and his book. He has a sexy man on his book. Like, I'm all about it. So you never know, right?
It's true. It's true.
YOLO.
Yeah.
Question 9. What is your favorite movie or book?
Oh, I think my favorite movie that I could watch over and over again is Eat, Pray, Love, because it's all about like finding yourself, and I love that kind of topic.
And question number 10. It's our pass or play question. And here are the rules. So if you choose to pass, I get to reverse roles with you and you get to ask me a question. If you choose to play, I ask one last question to wrap up rapid fire. So do you want to pass or play?
I do want to ask you a question, but I don't know what to ask. I will say, I'll ask you a question. Why did you want to start this podcast?
Oh my gosh, I love this question. So this podcast was started via my grief journey. I had lost my dad in November of 2020, so the day before Thanksgiving, and my dad was a very big part of my life. So I just got tired of the bullshit that people were telling me after my dad passed, because they were just telling me stuff that just did not help, because they're like, oh, I know how you feel. I'm like, you don't, because you've never lost a parent. You don't have to go bury a parent or anything like that. And my dad was just such a loving, like, wild card factor. He was from Curacao, so South America, for those of you listening, which is off the tip of Venezuela. And he was just so bubbly. And my mom is West Indian, so she's Caribbean, so she's so conservative and passive. And I was like, my dad would talk to any and everybody. So I was like, why not talk into the mic? And I just got real raw. I just talked about grief. I talked about how I felt. I talked about how my dad went through medical negligence. And then from there, people just started reaching out to me and they wanted to be on the show, but I wasn't interviewing anyone because I just was not in the mental state. And I was like, if I interviewed people the way that I was feeling in November of 2020, I would, like, excuse my French, I was a complete shit show, y'all. It would not have been successful. Right. But then I figured, okay, there's so many people that have gems. So that's why I named the show Gems. And then I started to go back to all the people that reached out to me during that journey. And then I asked them, hey, are you still interested in being in the show? And then the rest is history. But every day I do the show, it's like my dad is with me and I get a piece of him, like, you know?
Yeah, I love that. That's such a beautiful reason to do it. Like, I love that. I'm really sorry to hear about your loss, but it sounds like you're really making the most out of the situation, like of an unfortunate situation. So I didn't know your dad, but I'm sure he would be really proud of you.
Thank you so much, Kyle. And now we're going to segue into the combo, the juiciness. So I want you to hold up that book that is dropping tomorrow.
So this is the book that I have coming up tomorrow. It's called Confessions of a Callboy. And it comes out June 3rd. And it's basically it's kind of like a coming of age kind of erotic thriller, and I'm really excited. I'll tell you about the plot in a minute, but I'm really excited because I've partnered with a nonprofit called Equality California, and they are the largest LGBTQ civil rights organization in California. And so they are, so I'm donating a portion of the proceeds of every sale to the organization. So I'm really excited to say that this is a book about, I'm giving back. It's kind of all about kind of coming out and kind of the self-acceptance and self-discovery that that LGBTQ people face. It's a novel, but yeah, I'm really excited to partner with them, and so every sale is like going to a good cause as well. So yeah, I'm excited.
So congratulations, because I know what it's like to have a book come out with me being an author myself. But I do have a question about that cover. So that guy on there, I see his tats and he's just ripped. Do you know the guy on the cover of the book, or did you just pick a stock image?
So this is it's a funny story. So I was part of a social media platform called FlipFit, and it's basically it chose me to kind of like review products like skincare products and men's clothing, and he was one of the other kind of people that they had chosen to review products, and so we kind of met on this network, and I was like, oh, he's like exactly what I kind of imagined like this character to be. And I was like, can you be on my book cover? And he was like, sure. So he actually has done a couple other book covers in the past. So this wasn't his first, but yeah, this it's not a stock image. Like there's like a photographer like shot it, and he was obviously the model, and yeah, so I own the rights to it. So it's really fun.
Interesting.
But I had an Instagram live conversation with him, like to kind of unveil the book cover, and we got to like chat more in depth then.
Interesting. So what is his name?
And like, is he single? His name is Eric Gilmet, and you can find him on social media. I think it's ET Fitness Coach is his handle, but yeah.
Super, super cool. Yes, I definitely will not be scoping and hoping. I'm very much married and very much pregnant. So those SNH days are long over for me. So no scoping and hoping. But for any of you ladies listening or any of you men listening, you could go check out a hottie on this book.
Right. I know. I was really happy with how the cover came out, clearly.
Amazing. So, okay, I want you to tell us about the plot, and then we're going to get into social media marketing and influencing, because that is your jam too. And I think having a book and being an author, you definitely need social media to push your literary works.
It's yeah, so true how that kind of all comes full circle. But yeah, the book is about the main character is he was a very minor character in my first book. So all the books that I've kind of written are somewhat related. While it's not like a direct sequel, it's kind of a spin-off. And his family, he kind of is like from like a wealthy family in New York. His family goes broke, and he has to move to LA. And kind of start his life over from scratch, from nothing. And he doesn't have any money, and he kind of gets propositioned to perform like favors for money, like sexual favors for money, and then and he was like, oh wow, that was like the easiest money I ever made, and so he kind of starts this journey of like exploring. I don't know what I'm allowed to say on this podcast, but like sex work, and then he kind of finds out like, oh wow, like maybe there's something, maybe I am not as straight as I thought I am. So it's kind of his journey with self-acceptance and kind of struggling with that, kind of set in this like LA world of prostitution.
Okay, so question there. So is he bisexual? Is he exploring, or does he go from being straight to being homosexual, or what is his journey like? Because you said he's becoming, and y'all, my audience knows I like to dive deep. I'm a little nosy because I got to pull out the juicy details. So
Yeah, sure. So he's very like the stereotypical all-American jock, like that's how he was in like high school and college and whatever. And when his kind of world is like upended, and he doesn't know, he moves to a new city. And it was kind of interesting because I think I've moved to LA, so that I kind of understood like that part of it. But it's like when you can kind of reinvent yourself when you don't know anyone in a new city. And so he kind of looks at it as an opportunity to kind of be kind of like his true self. So he kind of sheds kind of what he thought that he was, which was straight, and kind of explore and kind of finds his sexuality, which he ends up kind of, spoiler alert, like being like gay in the end. Um, so it's kind of like the journey of his kind of self-acceptance.
Okay, super cool. And I couldn't remember if I could say the word gay because there's a bill where they don't want you to say the word gay. So now I've said homosexual. I don't know what you actually should say now because there's so many things going around, well, not going wrong, going around. And I just
Yeah,
like to be respectful of people within the LGBTQIA plus community. I hope I got all the initials in there.
yeah, yeah. I know it can be a little bit confusing.
Yeah. So, Kyle, so is this character a fictitious character, or is this someone that you personally know, but you change maybe the character name because you don't want them to be like, oh, you wrote a book about me?
So it's completely fictitious. This is not like a real person at all. Like I said, it came from like a character, like a very small character in my first book. But a lot of the experiences that he has in the book are inspired by things that I have, heard stories about from like friends of mine, or things that I've observed like personally, like an older person being like, hey, like, do you want to be my boyfriend for the week? And I'm like, what? No. And here's like cash. So um so it's just like a kind of crazy, interesting, um I don't know, like, uh it's just kind of crazy interesting, the whole things. And I'm very fascinated by, and I don't have any judgment about what anybody does, but I wanted to kind of explore that because I think, with like the rise of like OnlyFans, like that kind of work has become a lot more democratized. It's not, I mean, it's still very on the fringe and people have opinions about it, but like I have a friend who does that and she makes like $50,000 a month. And I'm like, wow, that is like a crazy amount of
Ooh,
money for this type of work. And so I was like, I wanted to kind of really kind of explore it.
that is interesting. So she makes fifty grand a month being a sexual worker.
Mhm.
So she gets paid to have sexual menage a trois with people or just be their arm pieces or what? Like, is it like a
So
sugar baby or?
So yeah, so technically, so she has an account that's just kind of like, she just kind of shows her body. So she doesn't like engage in sexual acts with anybody else. But there are people, and she still makes that amount of money. But there are people who do perform kind of like a sugar baby situation or an escorting situation, and or perform on camera, and they make money from that too. Um, so they have a lot of control over what they do, which is interesting to me. And there's no like regulations about that. So there's just a lot of stuff that I kind of delve into in the book about you know about this kind of topic.
Super interesting. So thank you for sharing that, Kyle. And then with this fierce and interesting and raunchy and sexual derive and becoming of this character, I was about to call him Eric, but his name is not Eric.
Rick.
um,
Rick.
yeah. What's his name?
Rick.
Rick. Okay. And all of this, how do you effectively market this on social media along with your other books? Because sometimes whenever you market certain things on social media, you have to be mindful because there are people out there that could come for you because they don't get the work that you're putting out there and your artistic and creative abilities. But in order for your books to sell and you to get the mission out there, because it's not just a mission, but it's also a movement because there's a cause that's tied to the work that you're doing. How can you really influence on social media and effectively market? And feel free to rephrase the question.
No, yeah. No, it's a good question. So I'll just do really quickly a little backstory. So I signed and this relates to social media, I promise. But I signed a 3-book deal back in like 2015 with a publisher. And kind of the long story short, they went bankrupt. So I didn't like, get any money, or the book didn't, it had like a very small release, the first book, and everything. So I ended up re-releasing the book through my own company, KJL Media, because it's hard to get like a book that's already been published by one company by another company. So it was just like too much. It was like no one would republish it. So I kind of was starting doing all the marketing myself to kind of for this re-release of the book, and using my own social media platforms and my email list, and doing podcasts. Like I was just promoting it any way that I could, and it was a really like steep learning curve, but it was a really cool way to connect with the audience and people who do follow you or support you. Like it's such a great way to like sell directly to them. They don't have to go through anybody else. So yeah, it's been a really interesting journey because it's a bit it's independent. I'm not backed by like Penguin Random House or anything like that. So it's been really fun and exciting, and I kind of have complete control to do like a book signing. Like I have a book signing tonight, like whenever I want, and can do giveaways for the book whenever I want, and so it's it just takes a lot of strategy. But I will say that the one thing that I do like a 3-week window for the release of any kind of a book. So I'll do like a cover reveal, like on like one Friday, and then the next Friday I release a playlist, like a Spotify playlist that has like it's like the soundtrack of the book, and then the final Friday I do like the actual book release, so people can like get like a feel for the book before they actually read it.
That is super dope and cool because just hearing the soundtrack and then that gets you pumped up because music is my jam. Then getting like a preview into like what's to come in the book, like those little teasers and etc. I think that's super cool. And then just not being tied to any constraints by like a big publishing house, it gives you that creativity to really brand and market yourself in a way that is conducive to the overarching theme of the book. So, on social media, what are some effective ways that people can begin to really leverage social media, but market and influence their brand without diluting it?
That's a good question. So I think that it's really like I do social media consulting too for some clients, and so I always just say like, if your brand was a person, like what would the archetype of that person be, right? So let's say like you are a skincare company and you want to make it like really like feminine, like what are the colors, like who, like I kind of like say like, if is she like a cheerleader in high school? And then it's like, oh, okay, now I know that like the colors are like pink, peach, and yellow, right? And then like this is the font, because you're kind of like working from an avatar, you know? And so I think that as long as you really create content that's like completely on brand for what that is, it can't get deleted. And it just kind of, it puts parameters around the content you create, but it allows you to like always innovate, because you still like know what where your guidelines are, but you kind of have to make like a reel that is hopefully going to get more views. Like how can we use what's in our box while still staying on brand? So I always say people like reels are an amazing way to grow, like on Instagram right now. TikTok is obviously huge. Um so yeah, just kind of create like an avatar of what your brand is, I think is really helpful.
Okay, so creating an avatar, staying in front of your ideal avatar, asking them questions and just really engaging with them, seeing what is it that they like, what do they want to learn about you, because it's building that know, like, and trust factor, which is giving you credibility because you are becoming the face of your brand. Because if nobody ever sees who's behind the brand, then they're like, okay, does this brand really exist? So I think that's also good. And I like how you said reels, because reels, there's so many people blowing up with reels doing like fun stuff. There's some that are stupid, there's some that are crazy. But then one thing too is like, I would also tell somebody to really remain authentic. Like if you know that you're not a makeup wearer or whatnot, just be yourself on that reel, because people can tell if you're trying to fake it to make it, and it doesn't, that genuinity or that authenticity does not come across.
You're 100% right. And like, that's the biggest thing, is because people are way more, once you start creating content that's like fun and like on brand for you, and then you have like a product, maybe like a book that you want to like sell, it people are way more likely to buy from you because they trust you. Do you know what I mean? And they, you know, I'm not doing makeup tutorials, obviously. So like they, like if I did, yeah, if I did, they'd be like, this seems like off. So like if when I do have a product come out, they're going to be like, is this even good? Is this product even going to be good? Because he's all over the place, you know? So yeah, just kind of remaining, again, like I think like stick with 3 adjectives, like funny, like happy, I don't know, whatever they are for you, and then kind of create content around that.
So yeah, and I could agree with that sentiment, because if I'm gonna put myself in the hot seat, and since you're an expert, you could coach me and give me some feedback here. So like the mission behind my show is to educate, inspire, and motivate. And then of course the added bonus is weaving in that diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. So when people come to the GEMS platform and the ecosystem, they see a plethora of conversations, which I'm sure you saw, Kyle, and they're either going to be on topics that are educational, topics that are inspirational, or topics that are motivational. And those are the core pillars. So I'm not niching down, because I believe that everybody has something incredible to leave in this world via a gem. And that's sharing a conversation or sharing their subject matter expertise to make this world a better place by creating an imprint. So whenever you came into my ecosystem, Kyle, like just off the record, I love feedback, and don't I just want you to be honest. What did you think?
No, I loved it. I loved I mean, you were instantly very likable. Like even before we started chatting today, like just listening to the podcast like prior, like it's like, oh gosh, she just seems like so like positive and inspirational, and also like the story you shared about like your dad, like relatable. Like it's, you just have a lot of I think probably people see a lot of themselves in you, and I think that that really translates, and I think that that's why um you know, you're really taking off on this podcast, because because people want to have those conversations with someone who makes them feel good.
Awesome. And thank you for sharing that. And I always like to tell the audience, I put my own self in the hot seat, y'all, because I'm not afraid to learn and grow, because if I'm not learning, I'm not growing. And it's all about that personal development, because when you personally develop, it's going to help you in the professional space to develop there. And you can't have P without P. You need P squared.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, Kyle, is there any other questions relating to the book or the work that you're doing on social media that you want to add value to this conversation that I did not ask?
I think yeah, I mean, I do share some like social media tips on some of my Instagram, or some of my Instagram channels. So feel free to like reach, you know, anyone can reach out to me with questions. I'm always happy to answer questions about that. And yeah, I'll just say, like, if is interested in buying the book, it's on Amazon. Again, a portion of the proceeds go to Equality California, which advocates for civil rights of LGBTQIA people, and so everything goes to a good cause.
Amazing. And now let's jump into the CTA, call to action. What is your call to action for the audience today?
Maybe that was my call to action, what I just said. But
Dang it. I thought I was going to pull another one out of you.
No, I think all, you know, maybe the call to action for just our conversation is just kind of like be yourself. I know it sounds like so trite and maybe a little bit cliche, but I think that's really what it is. You know what I mean? Like we were just discussing how, you know, how this show for you is really an expression of yourself and how you want to motivate and entertain and inspire people. And, you know, me kind of on this publishing journey, like I'm being really authentic to like the topics that really interest me and I want to write about and inspire and entertain my audience too. So I think that if people are just, you know, I think it's just kind of the call to action is just find your brand for yourself And anyone can you can do whatever you want when you have that kind of all laid out for yourself.
Yes, I love that. And then whenever you said be yourself, I think that's like one of the songs that was in the movie Life Size with Tyra Banks when she was the Barbie doll. It's like be yourself, be yourself. And I don't know the rest of the lyrics, so I'm definitely not going to sing it. And I'm not a singer, y'all. I just like to shoot the breeze. Um, so, Kyle, now tell the community how they could connect with you via your website and where you primarily hang out. I know you mentioned Instagram, but we need those handles.
Yes. So my handle for everything is Kyle J Langan. My last name is Langan. So on Instagram, I'm Kyle J Langan. My website is kylejlangan.com. TikTok, it's all Kyle J Langan.
Amazing. And Kyle, I want to thank you so much for coming on Gems podcast today, sharing us that juicy nugget for that book, Confessions of a Callboy, as well as talking about social media influencing and marketing, because that's something that everybody is doing nowadays. Everyone's trying to be a TikToker. They're on Instagram, they're tweeting, and there's so many other platforms that are out there. But I just love the sentiment of be yourself, contributing to a cause that is near and dear to your heart, and then just embracing who you are and really showing your authenticity. So thank you so much. Audience, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. We are on 40 plus platforms, and you can see the video to this recording by heading on over to our YouTube channel and typing at Gems, GEMS, with Genesis Amaris Kemp, and you'll see this video as well as other videos that have been uploaded. And I want to thank each one of you for supporting the guests that I bring on, as well as the mission behind this show, because without you, we wouldn't be ranked in the top 2% globally out of 2.8 million podcasts per www.listennotes.com. And I am on my way to make it to that 1%, y'all. So support your girl and support the guests that I bring on. And for those of you that would like to become a brand sponsor, find more information by going to genesisamarisKemp.net or sending me an email at genesisamarisKemp@gmail.com, because we would love to have you so we could continue to buy more podcast equipment and continue to spread the mission. But until the next guest, peace, love, and lots of blessings. Have yourself an amazing day. And remember, YOLO, you only live once. So do you, boo.